there's just all these outcomes that I'd never seen from something I did before. And I was like, wow, like I really actually had hands-on involvement in something that like significantly changes the daily life of someone. I was like, this is crazy. If I can do this the rest of my life, like that's amazing. And so definitely that trip to Nepal, I mean, it just showed me that there is high impact work that exists out there. And like STEM truly can be used, not just for the progression of like, I don't know, making cool technology, but actually like changing people's lives.
Welcome to The Technical Creative. I am your host, Dr. Nehemiah Mabry, and this is a show produced by STEMedia that's all about growth and development in both the technical and creative spaces. My guest today is Jenni Mangala. And if you want to find out how she got involved in international development as a student, how she as an engineer feels you can make the most of your college experience, and what she believes is pretty much the worst thing that can happen while working remotely on a meeting. Stay tuned right here, right now on The Technical Creative. Jenni, what's up?
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you here. Thanks for coming to The Technical Creative.
Of course.
I think you have a lot that you can speak on as it relates to that. But first and foremost, you are a part of a project of designing and installing solar panels at a primary school in Rwanda.
Yes.
So my question to you is, when you come back, you want to start a business together? Like, what you want to do? You ready to make some money together?
We can talk about something.
I'm saying,
let me know.
Let me get in on the ground floor. All right, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, no, tell us about it. Because you are a student. You're the second student we have here on the show. The second student we had Brian last time, who you know as well.
Yeah.
And you all are phenomenal students at North Carolina State University.
Thank you.
And so I'm so happy to bring you on.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that project, and then we'll go back from there into your whole journey and everything.
Yeah. So NC State has an engineering education program, and I'm a senior electrical engineering. Okay. And so I've been to Rwanda twice through that program and taught engineering lessons in primary and secondary schools. So teaching like simple circuits and having kids like turn on light bulbs and all that stuff, and teaching the basics of double E's. So that's been a really cool experience. And one of my mentors, since he knew about my passion for solar energy and just off-grid development, actually suggested that I do a project at one of those schools, since we have a nonprofit partner that was also interested in seeing a solar project happen. And so for the past pretty much year and a half, I've been working with a contractor over there called My Solar Rwanda.
My Solar Rwanda. Okay, got you.
And then Mothering Across Continents, which is our nonprofit partner. So they're actually headquartered in Charlotte, but they work in a lot of different countries. And I've just been working with both of those groups along with NC State to make this project happen. So it'll be a little over 3 kilowatts of solar energy plus battery storage at 10 kilowatt hours. And the goal is to eventually power pretty much a computer lab at the school for like STEM education purposes.
Oh, so you're going to be powering a computer lab.
Yeah, so that's the goal. So that's the whole purpose of the electrification is ultimately the STEM education outcome.
Right. So you say you've been a few years already. Was it during some spring break or something like that?
I went first time summer 2022. So that was like a month-long study abroad. And then I went again spring break last year.
And I guess you worked with Dr. Bottomley. Did you go over her?
Dr. Bottomley and Dr. Reynolds.
All right, shout out to them. We might have to get them on the show, especially Dr. V. You know, Dr. V is so cool when you talk about creativity and engineering. So you all went over there and you were in classes kind of teaching, and I'm sure it was fun connecting with a lot of the young students over there.
Yeah.
What grades, what ages were you teaching?
Yeah. So primary school, we were doing pretty much what their version is of like 4th, 5th grade, maybe 6th grade also. Yeah. And then secondary school, it was like their version of 10th and 11th grade. Got it.
And so you weren't really doing anything as relates to the solar energy while there, but somehow that opportunity came about. Yeah.
So Dr. Reynolds brought up the idea to me before my first trip, May 2022.
Okay.
And so the only thing I did when I was over there was do what we call site visit from a technical standpoint at the school. So going over with a technician and looking to see if there's any existing wiring at the school in terms of electricity, meeting the headmaster, what they call a principal, talking with students, all of that stuff. Got it.
And this is the thing. I'm glad we started here because that's what I guess that's how I met you. I first found out about what you have going on, this project. And I was like, listen, we gotta talk about this a little bit more. So you had to raise money, though.
Yeah, that was the hard part.
Okay, so what was the raising the money for? How much did you have to raise? Did you reach your goal? What's going on? How much am I going to get? Like, what are we talking about here? Go ahead.
Right, yeah. So the money raised was for the installation costs. Okay. So My Soul is a for-profit company, and the installation costs a little over 19 million Rwandan francs, which when we convert that to USD is a little bit over 15,000. So between like 15, 16. Okay. And that covers the cost of the installation. So like the solar panels themselves, the batteries, all the wiring, paying for labor, transportation of materials, because you have to hike up a mountain with all these like solar panels. Oh man,
it's about to be some cardio work in there.
So it's a lot. Yeah, the school's on an island and it's only accessible by boat. So transportation costs are a huge factor to that. Yeah. So raised the money for that whole installation within the past year. And so that looked like a lot of reaching out to my professional network and saying, hey, like, I'm doing this project.
Listen, for a good cause.
You said you wanted to stay in touch. Like, let's talk about something. Yeah.
That's crazy. And I mean, I guess the conversion rate, you said that's a couple million over there, but it's doable. It's definitely doable. And part of the design, obviously, is for it to be compact, constructible very simply. Like, are you going to be getting up on the roof? And
I'm not. That's not the plan. I've done that in previous projects, but I think my goal for this one was to learn more of that like holistic project management skill set when it comes to planning something start to finish.
This is crazy. No, and that's the thing, because you're about to graduate from college this year, 2024.
Yeah.
And you're not just finishing one degree, but two, right?
Yeah.
Both in
electrical engineering.
So you're going to get a bachelor's and a master's.
Yeah.
Within months of each other.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Which
so
is
here
crazy.
she is, Joe. She's about to get 2 degrees, bachelor's, master's, and she already has international impact. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's on your resume. That's what you're going to be, launching into the career field with.
Yeah.
Is your desire to work in solar energy, or do you have sort of like other objectives?
It definitely is. I love renewable energy. So I know I want to do that as my career, like pretty much the whole time. But I also know I want to have more of an international focus later on. So I think I'm just trying to figure out how do I want to pivot into that.
Got you.
So right now the plan is work in like an American-based company that's doing like utility scale solar.
Okay.
Maybe go to business school as a pivot, still figuring that out. And then eventually transitioning into more like strategy work for a company that has a footprint in Africa.
That's dope. Hey, if you got a job offer, drop it in the comments so that Jenni can come and get that opportunity. Jenni, that's dope. So let's go back then. Where are you from originally? How'd you even get interested in like engineering, STEM?
Yeah.
Like, give me the origin story.
Yeah, that's a whole story. So born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh.
So been here the whole time. But my family's actually from Congo in Central Africa.
Yeah.
So I have 5 siblings. Me and my younger brother were born here, but all my older siblings were born in Kinshasa. That's the capital. Wow. And they moved here when they were like late elementary, middle school. So they like grew up there.
Yeah.
And my parents immigrated here in 2001. Then I was born a year later here in Raleigh.
Okay.
And so growing up, I always kind of knew that my family was different in the sense that we spoke French at home, and the food that I would bring to school looked a little bit different than everyone else. Right. I was like, they're not making like ham and cheese sandwiches for me. Right. And so I always was kind of aware that I had this like heritage from a global standpoint, but I don't think it was until high school when I realized what that actually meant for quality of life. And so that's when I really started to consider like the resources that I have access to and the education. And like I went on my first trip alone abroad when I was 16. Like all these opportunities were things that are very, very tied to the fact that I was born here and literally not in another country, especially Congo. And so I think kind of that awareness of that difference in life made me a lot more interested in like, okay, what is like international development and what does like global development look like with that? And then kind of pairing that with my interest in STEM. I'd always been interested in STEM. I wanted to be a chemist when I was in 5th grade.
Were you getting good grades in science?
I was, So like was always really interested and good at math and science. And I actually wanted to be a doctor for a long time because both my parents are in healthcare.
Okay.
Then I found out they went to school for like 10, 15 years. And I was like, nah, maybe I have a different passion.
I know that's right. I'm trying to knock out 2 degrees in like 4 or 5 years.
I was like, maybe that's not my path. And I'm glad that it wasn't because now I found something I love.
Yeah, I hate that.
And so in high school, I had the chance to either do an advanced physics or biology class. And I went with physics, and I was like, I really like physics. It's really challenging, but it's making me think in a way that I've never thought before. I'm not memorizing stuff. I'm actually like figuring it out. So took physics, loved it. Then I did a 2-day engineering camp at NC State, and I loved that because I was like super hands-on.
This was after your senior year in high school?
This was all going on like junior year of high school.
So before you even graduated?
Yeah, okay, and so I was like, this engineering thing, like I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cool.
It's getting my wheels turned.
Right, yeah. And then my older brother, he's doing his PhD in mechanical at NC State, and so every now and then he would kind of drop like, this engineering thing. Maybe you should consider that. Right.
You're like, hey, check it out. Yeah,
and I was like, maybe this is it. And so going into senior year of high school, after doing that camp, I knew I wanted to be an engineer because of STEM and just that problem solving mindset. But I still had this like part of me that was like, I have a conviction to help people, especially knowing my family background. It's like, I want to do something that's high impact. Like I don't want to just go build computers for like 40 years and then die.
And
it's
in some little cubicle and nobody ever sees you.
And it's like, that's cool. It's probably fun from a tech standpoint, but like, what did I actually do to impact society?
Big impact. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think honestly, long story short, it was a culmination of a lot of different experiences. So consistent community service, taking physics, that engineering camp. Summer after junior year, I went to Ghana for a service trip that was fully funded by an alum from my school. It's kind of a fellowship that we have. Yeah. And so that's when I realized like this international thing, I really like that. And like traveling and like seeing the impact I'm having on people, like that's really cool.
Yeah.
And so then senior year of high school, you're writing all those college applications and they're like, what do you want to do in life? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I honestly just used like inductive reasoning and I put it all together and I was like, I like international work. I like high impact work.
Right.
I know I want to be an engineer now because of STEM.
Right.
I have this family tie and I've learned a lot about lack of energy access in that country. And then I was like, this is what I want to do.
So energy access was one of your early interests too.
Yeah.
How did you get introduced to that I guess that grand challenge? So
No, it's funny because 8th grade, we had to do a project in my science class. And I don't even remember what the topic was, but I think you could choose anything. And my team did energy access in Congo.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm Congolese.
Congo. Wow.
Yeah, so maybe we can like look into this.
Yeah.
And it just like, from there, I had this like seed planted in my brain of like, that's something to keep in mind.
Right.
So,
It's major. Of course, NC State's big on grand challenges.
Yeah.
We talk about things that impact the world. I love that. And when you talk about even your cultural background, because a lot of people, like for me, right? I'm African-American. My family is from the South. I don't really have any international connections that I can directly kind of reach out to, right? But that being said, for me to kind of have that experience, I'll have to go overseas. But you growing up in a household, it's almost as if you had one culture in your home.
Yeah.
But then when you left your home and went to school, it's like a whole nother culture.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like a second thought after a while. It was kind of just natural.
Yeah. Like I always knew that I wanted to do something that had a global context because I was like, I just can't imagine not seeing the world when like 90% of my family is in another part of it. Like I know that I want to go out and do things. So,
right. What do you think what do you think that adds to your lens as it relates to problem solving though? Is there anything, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but like, is there anything you would say that, hey, for someone who, for instance, have lived a monolithic type cultural upbringing or life, what would you say to them that they could gain if they were just to kind of like diversify in terms of their cultural experiences? Yeah.
I mean, I think having that cultural experience just makes you consider things in a much grander way a lot of the time. Yeah. So an example is right now I'm taking this grad class that's pretty much on how like the power grid in America works. And obviously with all these like net zero carbon goals by 2050, everyone's like, we need a 100% renewable grid. Yeah. And so whenever I'm in that class and we're talking about these things, I'm always in the back of my head like, okay, well, what if this was like Sierra Leone or another country? And like, how do you build a complete renewable grid when there isn't maybe that original infrastructure to begin with? Like, what does like the transition to clean energy look like? And so even just an example like that, it's like, I'm always thinking about things on this like bigger level and not just like in the context of the problem.
And you're aware what you don't know, because I think like you could be in a position where you don't know something, but then you can be in a position where you don't know that you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've even heard people say, you don't know that you don't know that you don't know. And that's just like so far removed from even considering things that if you had sort of that exposure already, at least your mind can consider some of the other ramifications of whatever it is you're designing. Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah. So you got to NC State. You decided I'm a major in electrical engineering. What are some of the things you did to sort of round out, or you're doing even, to sort of round out your education as a student that you feel have helped you?
Yeah, definitely travel, honestly. Yeah.
Travel.
So great thing about State is they have a lot of study abroad programs, a lot of funding for abroad programs. And so I've been, to Rwanda, obviously, but I also did off-grid solar installations in Nepal and also in Nicaragua while I was a student. And kind of funny backstory is like I started college in 2020. And so the world was shut down and I was like, I'm never going to study abroad. And I literally was like, I have to get out of the country at least one time while I'm in college. And I've done it like 7 times now.
There you go.
So that was like a sharp goal coming in.
And you're about to be out of the country very soon. I know we're coming up on spring break.
Yeah.
You're going to
Southern Europe.
Southern Europe.
Yeah.
Man.
Through NC State.
There you go.
Yeah.
Another sort of like study abroad kind of experience?
Yeah, it's through our honors program.
Got you. So when are you going back to Rwanda to install the solar panels? Yeah.
So the plan right now is actually for me not to go back since I've been twice.
All right.
And so we have an NC State group that goes every spring break and also every summer. And so there's faculty like Dr. Bottomley, Dr. Reynolds, as well as other students that are pretty much going to see to the end of that project.
Right. Yeah. All right. Got you. You're the face of it though. You're definitely the face of it. Yeah. But I got to hit myself. Just come back. All right. So you travel. I understand that you're also currently the president of the student NSBE chapter.
Yeah. National Society of Black Engineers.
National Society of Black Engineers.
Yeah.
Whose mission is to Oh, no.
I'm like, I can say the whole thing right now, but that may take too long.
No, the mission is to
increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community.
Positively impact the community, not just the local community, but the global community. Right. That's a good job. Good job. We got to give her a hand for that, Joe. Listen, shout out to NSBE. I wanted you to say it because NSBE is an organization I'm a part of as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends on various levels of NSBE.
Yeah.
And we just really love the folks at all levels of NSBE. And you being a student president, I thought thought would be a great person to also speak on that. How has that benefited or added to your experience in college?
It's huge. I mean, like engineering is obviously not diverse. So there's a lot of classes I've walked into where I'm one of like 3, maybe 4 women, and definitely the only Black person. That's happened like so many times. And so when you go through all those classes all day long, but then at the end, there's a NSBE meeting at 6 p.m. and you see your friends, you see people you've maybe never met. It just kind of reminds you like, okay, I'm definitely meant to be here and I'm definitely on the right track. And so just having a community of Black people who are also pursuing engineering, also super intelligent to kind of support you when you have like those really tough midterm weeks and maybe you're dealing with imposter syndrome in class, like having someone to talk that out with has been amazing. And that's why I've ended up president, is because I'm like, I want to cultivate this environment for all the people that come after me. Like I can't imagine like not being a part of this. And so I'm like, what if somebody isn't a part of this at school? Like how do I pull them in and get them involved? So NSBE's been great.
NSBE is fantastic, especially the student chapter that you're the president of, STEMedia. We've been able to partner with the chapter through a number of things, and even got to hang out with you all recently at your general body meeting. I think that's fantastic. There are people who are watching this too, who may be currently in college or maybe getting towards the end of college, and they may feel like, I don't know if I have made the most of my college experience. Right. So I want to kind of maybe talk a little bit about that. What would be sort of your top 3 things that you would say, hey, here are the ways that you can make the most of your college experience as you have, right, from your vantage point? Yeah,
that's a good question. I feel like regardless of whether it's academic or like personal friendships, just pursuing every opportunity, since you don't know what's actually going to stick. So like there's a lot of times where like from a personal standpoint, like randomly meeting up or hanging out with someone that I like didn't know previously. And that ended up being like one of the best friendships that I've had in college. And it's stuff like that where it's like, you don't know in foresight. So it's like, you might as well just try it and see. And then even from like an academic standpoint, like those travel opportunities, like I went to Nepal December 2021 when they were like, I think a yellow or like dark yellow country on like the recommended travel list. And like I had to petition state and like write this whole thing of like why they should let me go and fund me. So it's stuff like that where it's like, I didn't know that was going to work out because we were still in the middle of a pandemic, but I really wanted to go. But I tried it anyway and it ended up working. So yeah, I would say just regardless, like if there's an opportunity, like personal, academic, professional, just pursue it anyway. Because you don't know what's going to happen.
We had another 2 guests on here, Stephanie, who's a part of my team at STEMedia, and then Alex, who we worked together to produce the show. She had similar advice, apply for everything. Like just put your name in the hat. You never know what it could lead to. Even if that thing is not, say, your final destination, it could be a thing that opens up another door and then leads you to another opportunity, right? And you see that firsthand?
Yeah, for sure.
You ever played the game One Gotta Go?
I have. Okay. I think I have, yeah.
All right. So here, I want to ask you some questions because, one, you told me that you came into college during the pandemic. So you know a thing or two about remote. Like that's been sort of your...
Yeah, that's been my whole professional experience.
Not only that, but you are embarking upon, I guess pretty soon, the beginning of your professional life. All right, so my ask questions around that. This is a segment, a familiar one. Everybody played this game before, Joe, called One Gotta Go.
I'm excited.
And you got to tell me which one, like, if you had to get rid of one, this one you would get rid of. When it comes to remote class, remote work, or whatever, would it be A, wearing comfy clothes, B, grabbing a random nap, C, preparing an elaborate lunch in your own kitchen, or D, exercising whenever? If one had to go, which one would you pick?
That's a good question.
Comfy clothes, random nap, elaborate lunch, or exercising whenever?
Elaborate lunch has to stay, for sure. That's like a...
You ever made a sandwich? I mean, like, that thing was just like perfect.
Elaborate lunch has to stay.
Yeah, you're right. That has to stay.
Honestly... Maybe the random exzercising.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I usually get my workouts in the morning, so I'm like, I can live with having to be disciplined in that.
Right,
that's okay.
There you go. I bet some people probably watching this was like, oh, of course, that's each other.
Yeah.
But I got you. All right, cool. Here it is. One gotta go. One you would never have to deal with. We're gonna flip it a little bit.
Okay.
You never had to deal with A, forgetting you're on mute. B, a spotty internet Wi-Fi signal. C, accidentally sharing your entire screen. Or D, getting stuck in a cat filter doing a very important virtual meeting. Which one would you say had to go if you didn't? Hey, I don't want to ever have to deal with this. Spotty internet, forgetting you're on mute, accidentally sharing your whole screen. That's tough for me sometimes. Or getting stuck on a random cat filter.
Sharing the screen. Because it's like you never know what's on the other tabs. It's like, and I have a Mac, so it's like I have my notes up, I have my messages, I have like random
your
tabs.
Email.
Right. And it's like, that has to go.
Especially if they're recording. It's like, yo, people can go back and read the whole email. No, I saw, it was a funny meme one time. There was like, yo, what do you do when you accidentally share your screen and they see you're on a job, but they see Indeed.
Right. It's like, you never know.
Right. LinkedIn jobs open. Like, hold on. Now you searching for jobs while you're on the job? Like, what's going on, man? All right. Got you. No, that's good. That's good. All right. Here's some other questions about, let's say engineering. Let's go engineering and historical inventions. Cool. One got to go. The invention of the wheel, the invention of the printing press, the invention of the internet, or the invention of telephones. Ooh.
I feel like it has to be the printing press. I want to say that I don't use it. I probably do. It definitely probably affects my life somehow.
For sure.
But I'm like, the wheel, I got to drive.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, my phone, I can't even imagine. Like, not living without that.
Right.
Yeah.
So but if you got the internet, you can still, I guess, technically, well, it's not a phone, but you can still communicate.
Yeah.
We walk around with a computer still, but it would be called, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you were saying the printing press?
Yeah.
Spoken like a true Gen Z. You're Gen Z, right?
Right.
Well, I don't need to print anything up. I'll save on the cloud. You're good to go. No, that's good. I can't see anybody saying internet. I mean, internet is everywhere. That's crazy. Like,
that has to stay.
Like, I feel like right now, if the internet went away, we would have been set back. Like, I don't know how far. We've been living in a cage, like, flat out.
Yeah.
But the printing press paved the way for things that we do today. I mean, we probably wouldn't be doing it without it, but I get what you're saying. As far as today.
Yeah.
All right, today. All right. Got you. One got to go. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, or Google?
Dang. Amazon has to stay.
Amazon?
Like, I use that today. Amazon has to stay.
Amazon, you are safe.
Right.
All right.
Apple, too many Apple products. That's
They're everywhere.
Yeah, that's the AirPods. And
I know.
I'm
Apple,
like, that's too
Apple
integrated in my
Music.
life.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But now it's like Microsoft or Google.
Maybe Microsoft.
Oh,
I know.
Bill.
You
heard you said Bill?
Maybe Microsoft. I feel like I use Google every day. Like, I feel like I only use Microsoft in like a professional work setting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well,
so Microsoft Word, Xbox.
Then it's like Google Docs and like, you know what I mean?
You got to
the G Suite is nice.
G Suite is, and NC State uses it for its email
so that's
server.
what I'm like,
Yo, that's crazy. Nice. Microsoft, there was a time where it felt like there wasn't a single computer that didn't have Microsoft. It's probably still the case today. But, with things going to the cloud, the G Suite, like you said.
It's super nice.
It's super nice. All right, cool. One more. All right, here it is. As you get into the workforce, what do you feel like has to go? Interns, corralling new interns, organizing the year-end company party, realizing you had food in your teeth after your presentation, or submitting expense reports. Which one of those tasks would you say, hey, this one could go? If I never had to do this in my career, which would it be? Corralling new interns, organizing the year-end company party, realizing you had food in your teeth after the presentation, or submitting expense reports? One got to go.
I feel like interns have to stay because I've been an intern.
Yeah, so we love interns.
Right, we love interns.
We got to give back and put them back up. All right, interns are
so that has to stay.
All right.
Probably the food and teeth after presentations, like realizing that. Like, that seems terrible.
No, if you never had to ever deal with that.
Right.
So you'd be cool with like organizing a year-end company party?
I like planning stuff.
Oh, you
so
do?
Like, maybe that would be fun.
Okay.
Maybe the first couple times.
You can't please everybody though.
Right.
Everybody gonna be like, somebody's gonna be like, oh, we loved it. And everybody's like, man, why do we eat this food? Who picked,
Yeah.
But that's cool though. That's cool. All right. Well, there goes our segment. One gotta go. Give it up for Jenni. Good job. All right. All right, cool. Well, hey, moving on. And as we kind of come to the latter half of our interview, can you tell me maybe a story about one of the experiences you had abroad that sort of had an impact on you and really sort of changed your outlook moving forward?
I would honestly say going to Nepal. So that was the first trip I did when I was in college. I went through the Green Program. And so they're a non-university affiliated study abroad program that focuses specifically on sustainability. So they focus on like water conservation, and they have trips to like Iceland because they're 100% renewable energy. And so went to Nepal December 2021 for about 10 days. And I took a class on renewable energy in Nepal, but I also did an off-grid installation that was a little over 5 kilowatts at a village in a place called Dharmachar. So it's like 5 hours from the capital. You can see the Himalayas from the village, and it's like so pretty.
Wow. We
drove up a mountainside, and I was really scared because there's like no railing, and I almost fell off a couple times. Right? I was like, this is a little risky.
Why they do
and
that,
I come back. Right.
I got you.
But it was great. And I think that experience was really significant for me because I've done service, like community service and like other things, but that was the first time where I did a project where I was like, wow, like these people's lives are changed like significantly for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so the system that we built was going to use solar energy to power an agro processing mill.
Yeah.
And so before that, people were having to grind wheat, and like a lot of their farming was just like there was no technology component to it. And so having that mill that can now process all the things for them and do it like much faster. I mean, it had so many outcomes. Now there were girls and I mean, even young boys that could go to school before that couldn't because they were spending all that time in like agriculture and focusing on food production. There were women in the village that now had access to kind of that like technical learning since they were going to be the ones that were maintaining the system. And so there's just all these outcomes that I'd never seen from something I did before. And I was like, wow, like I really actually had hands-on involvement in something that like significantly changes the daily life of someone. I was like, this is crazy. If I can do this the rest of my life, like that's amazing. And so definitely that trip to Nepal, I mean, it just showed me that there is high impact work that exists out there. And like STEM truly can be used, not just for the progression of like, I don't know, making cool technology, but actually like changing people's lives. So yeah, that did it for me.
You know what I'm saying, Joe, we gotta let that breathe, man. I say, and I've shared this in one of my, my talks that I frequently do, 3 questions that you cannot afford not to ask, right? Not to ask and therefore answer. Is number 1, who am I? Number 2, what do I want? And then number 3, why does it matter? And that's what you're kind of hitting on to. Like, it matters not just because I have this title or I'm going to be on the front of a magazine or people are going to remember I'm the inventor of XYZ, right? But like, there are people's lives who have been significantly improved by the work you've done. Like you're studying this stuff, not just for your degree, but for you to have insight to change someone's trajectory in their life. Someone across the pond, so to speak. Any relationships that you can remember or meeting any people, any particular moments where you're like, you know what? I wonder what this person is doing right now. Like any particular relationship?
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of that comes from Rwanda. So being Congolese, the countries border each other. So culturally speaking, we're like very similar.
Okay.
And when I was over there, anytime I'm over there, people like think I'm Rwandan and then I start talking and they hear the accent. They're like, whoa.
No, that's not Rwandan. I got you.
Yeah, but I mean, teaching in those schools has been like absolutely amazing. I mean, there's students' emails that I like still keep up with to this day. And they'll like send me like their progress reports on like grades and talk about their plans of wanting to be an engineer because I came and like talked to them about that. And so definitely a lot of the students that I met while teaching in Rwanda, because I realized I could have that high impact, but in a different way, like convincing someone to see like, or not even to see, but to raise the potential for the ceiling of how they see themselves. Like I'd never done that before. And I did that in Rwanda by teaching engineering. And exposing that to kids who maybe would otherwise never hear about it. And so there are definitely a lot of students that I think about pretty often of like, wow, like I hope they become an engineer one day. And I hope that they stay motivated in STEM.
You played a part in that. You just gave us another fire bar. I mean, raise the ceiling for how they see themselves. Raise the ceiling. And that's something that happens even by your very presence, right? As a Black woman in engineering, right? You're talking about the percentages being so low compared relative to the other groups. I'm wondering what advice would you have for a young, Black girl who may be looking up to you, or a woman of color, or any woman of someone that is saying, hey, I see the value in the sense of purpose that you have in STEM. I want to have that. What sort of like advice would you give to those individuals?
That's a really good question. I have to think about that. Honestly, I would say, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like pursuing like any and every opportunity, but while doing that, like having the confidence to pursue it without fear and without imposter syndrome, and just having like a sense of confidence and strength walking into a room and doing these things. Because I think engineering and just STEM as a whole is like really hard, like regardless of race, regardless of gender, right? Like it's a hard degree. And so if you're able to pursue that on top of being a Black woman and being one of the very few people in the room, but to do it with a sense of confidence where you don't let it like get to your head or like negatively impact you, like that is where you're able to unlock like a lot of the potential you didn't know you had. So I would say pursuing any and every opportunity, but doing it with a sense of confidence that you're meant to be there and that there is something good that could come out of it.
Got you. No, that's dope. And I think that's, not that I think, I know that's part of sort of our purpose as STEMedia. Our audience predominantly includes individuals who are underrepresented, underestimated, right? And I know that people are watching this right now. They're looking at this and they're hearing you, Jenni. And they're benefiting from what you share. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
But here's where I'm going to flip it, because we like to conclude by you giving advice to yourself. All right?
Ooh,
give advice to yourself.
That's good.
But 2 versions of yourself, right? You're going to look here at the camera and you're going to share. What up, Jenni?
Right.
All right? You're going to share, if you were to go back in time, right? Let's say you were to talk to that high schooler right before junior year, or that person that just did the summer program. What would you say to your previous self? Right? This could be beneficial to somebody in that same position. But also, we want you to give a word to your future self. So let's imagine, again, you 5 years into the future.
That's good.
And you come back and watch this interview. We on episode, who knows what episode we're on, Joe. But we on a distant episode. But you see yourself now. what is something you want to give that future version? Let's go past and then let's go future. Direct the camera.
Right. Oof. Jenni, it's good to see you. This is so fun. I would say past me, and to anyone else who can relate, is to stay resilient. So like I mentioned, engineering is a very hard degree. STEM overall is very hard. There's so many moments where you're going to feel like you want to give up. You're going to feel like you don't belong. There's going to be tests that you fail. There's going to be professors who stress you out. There's going to be questions that you have no idea how to answer. But what matters is your ability and your motivation and your discipline to push through. And so regardless of how hard it is, just keep going, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a result in the end if you just stay consistent. So definitely just resilience and perseverance, if I had to wrap that up in one thing.
Love it.
Yeah. And then my future self, this is like the pressure one. I would say remain intentional and don't forget why you started all of this. Don't become complacent in working a job just because you get paid well and you like the work and it's a great company culture, but actually always keep your purpose and your personal mission as the reason and the motivating factor behind why you choose a job, a company, going back to school, whatever it is. Just remember why you're doing this and don't get complacent in whatever success that you have, because there's always more to accomplish. There's always more impact. There's always more people's lives to change. And if you don't realize that potential, then there's a lot that's not going to happen. So remain intentional.
I love it. On behalf of future Jenni and future Dr. Nee, I'm telling you, I'm watching this. I might need to go ahead and thank you from the future retroactively or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I really appreciate that. And I know there's a lot that is your story that we hadn't gotten to. I know you're a big, your personal faith. You've done a lot in the community and in the field of church community, faith-based communities. Is there anything, whether it be that or anything that I didn't ask you, that you want to just share with the people before we go?
That's a good question. Oof, that's a really good question, especially now that you brought up the faith thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, my faith is like a huge driving factor of why I do a lot of what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I have this mission of like advancing life on the African continent through energy. But at the core of that is a personal mission to love people, which is what I feel called to do.
Yeah.
So I would say like general advice is like find your why. Like what are you doing and why? Like what is like your core? I mean, whether it's to love people, to learn, like to create, whatever it is, it's like we all have this personal mission of why we're ultimately like doing all of these things. And it just comes into fruition in like STEM or like a lot of different other areas. And so, yeah, I would say just like know why you're doing what you're doing and like stay true to that.
Listen, I'm going to call it right now, Joe. She's going to be headlining a keynote speaker at some event in the future. Future Jenni, I called it here on the Technical Creative, right? Because you've been giving a lot of value. I'm incredibly thankful for you coming on Technical Creative.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really happy to meet you. I got a feeling that, again, we're going to, from STEMedia and you in the chapter even, we're going to be doing more together. But in general, I just definitely wish you all the best.
Thank you. Definitely
want to support anything you got going on. And you've inspired me today. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.